Please be seated. Wednesday mornings, we have a Eucharist service here. We gather over in this little corner, and we have a Eucharist service, and we do a Bible study, basically. We look at all the texts up for coming for Sunday. It's actually, there's quite a good conversation that develops, and so if any of you are ever at loose ends on a Wednesday morning looking for some spiritual food, do join us. It's quite a nice little group that gathers. This week, we were having a conversation around this text, and Detlef was sharing how the text had impacted him, and I said, wow, that sounds like a great sermon. Would you be willing to preach on this Sunday, or at least give the message, not preach, but would you be willing to give the message and talk about how this text impacted you? And Detlef said yes. So today, he will be leading us in a reflection on this, and so Detlef, I'm going to invite you forward.
May the Spirit that is always in this place move my words and my thoughts. Amen. Amen. On Wednesday, when Eric asked me to share some of my thoughts about this passage, I said, well, I'll get back to you that night. I've given a lot of speeches and presentations, but this is a very special honor, and so I'm filled with humility and honor to do this. But it also occurred that this passage was now in my dreams and caused restless nights for me. And not just this passage, but the whole passage of the crucifixion. It's almost like I know all those people. It's kept reoccurring and reoccurring. So he didn't tell me that part. Then I was reminded that this phrase many, many years ago, when I first heard it, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing, struck me like a lightning bolt. I remember listening to a song one time by Corleone, and in that song was a soprano voice. Much like today, that soprano voice cuts through and hits you in the heart. And this is what that sentence did to me. And it stuck with me. And I think about it a lot. What is it that is occurring there? Because as you recall, this is the crucifixion of Jesus. He appears before Pilate. He appears before Herod. They don't want to kill him, but the masses all around are saying, no, take this person and nail him to the cross. Holy moly. There's chaos, people everywhere saying, no, we want him to be crucified. And then he's on the cross, and he utters the words, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. One has to take a breath. Amidst all that, he has the courage and the wherewithal to say that. To me, he's challenging us to change our consciousness, to change how we think of the world and how we are in the world. Because on the cross it said, King of the Jews. People were saying, no, he is the King of the Jews. And he wasn't that. He was far from that as possible. And yet the Roman Empire, with all its might, was crucifying him. And if I know anything, it's that Jesus' teachings and his life were counter to the powers of the Roman Empire. Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. So he's asking us to think differently, be in the world differently, where the love of God leads to justice and to life. Yet there was always a puzzle. How does that end? On Wednesday, when I read the last piece about the two criminals, one on either side of him, they had murder, they were murderers. And one is mocking, as is the crowd, as are the soldiers, mocking Jesus. If you are the Messiah, save yourself. If you are the King of the Jews, do something. No. Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. And one of the criminals is still mocking him. And the other one has said, hold on a minute. Why are you saying this? We have murdered. We deserve to die. Jesus is blameless. He has not done anything. And then he turns to Jesus and he says, when you come to your heaven or to your kingdom, remember me. And he gets it. His consciousness is changed in that moment. And what is the response? Jesus says, as of now, you are in my kingdom. It's as simple as that. Our view of the world and how we are in the world changes and transforms through that act of asking, can I be with you? And of course, Jesus, with the being here already, God's kingdom is here, the creation. He says, now you are here. That is what forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I'm reminded in my own consciousness, and I think probably most of yours, 20 years ago, the climate change crisis that we are facing was probably not in our consciousness. You know, we enjoyed the hot summer day, or swimming, the rain, and so on. It's a different world now. Through science, through young people's protests, our knowledge has increased. Climate change is definitely, I think, on our consciousness. And so we are changing. Yesterday, 200 countries signed an agreement to fund climate change reparations in poorer countries. If that is not a move of love and justice, I don't know what is. That would have been unheard of. Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. As we begin to think about the world differently and our life in that world, with each other, in our families, too often I lose consciousness in that symbolic way. I don't love fiercely enough. I don't have enough compassion. I speak angrily. And yet when I think back and say, no, forgive me, because I'm not knowing what I do. And so it is that Jesus challenges us through those words, like a lightning bolt to my heart, to think about how we are in the world and the world around us in a different way, one that leads to justice and the furtherance of life. Amen.